Hello, my name is Jim Connolly. I'm the manager at Weston Nurseries in Chelmsford, and today we're going to talk about fruit trees and small fruits. This time of the year is the best time to get your selection of fruit trees because we get all of our fruit trees into our garden centers at this time of the year. So it's first come, first serve. You name it, we've got it. Your basic apples and peaches and plums and nectarines and pears. We do have some cherries, Asian pears, so we do have a few exotics, or if you want to call them exotics, different varieties that aren't normal varieties. One thing I suggest to customers is go to like the local grocery store and buy a couple of different apples that you've never bought before. Try the taste of them and say, oh gosh, that's great. Like, I've never had a Macoun apple before. I went to Market Basket, I bought some. I'm like, this tree's unbelievable. So I went out and I bought a Macoun apple because of that. So I just want to touch base a little bit about some of the fruits that I have behind me here and kind of give you an understanding how easy it is to grow fruits in your yard. For the small fruits, let's talk about those first. You know, blueberry is probably one of the easiest ones. It's a native plant. It has the berries in the summer, fall. It's easy to plant, nice fall color, takes part shade to full sun, and it's going to give you the blueberries. If you're into an apartment situation or a condo and you don't have a large yard, there's a whole line of blueberries in this brand called Bushel and Berry that you can actually plant in containers. They also have some raspberries and black raspberries as well. And the intent is that it's a small, stout plant that could be used in a container and you can harvest the fruits. Raspberry's crazy. I have raspberries in my yard. There's two families of raspberries. There's ones that produce fruit in the spring, and there's some that produce spring and fall. Last year, I had a huge bumper crop because we had so much rain, and it just helped to keep the juice in the fruit. Raspberries are really easy to grow because they grow off their roots and they start up more plants, and then after a couple of years, the mother plant is kind of dead and you cut it out, but it's always got new successions that are developing, so you don't have to worry about, losing the plant. Blackberries, raspberries, they're all good choices. And then, of course, grapes, if you're into eating or wine making or what have you, we have a grape selection. Grapes are a little bit more tricky in that it's a vine, so you do need a structure to hang it from, whether you have a pergola or some kind of a vineyard situation that you're making on your own. But that's a good choice if you're looking for something different. So let's talk about now the larger fruit trees that we have. And everybody knows about apples that are your standard type tree. With most apples, what you need is two types. There are some self-pollinating apples, like Golden Delicious is supposed to be self-pollinating, but quite honest, the more apples you have in your yard, the better off you are. This is what I've always said and tell people. If you have one tree, you're going to get some fruit on a self-pollinating. If you have two, even if they're self-pollinating, you'll get more fruit from both of them because there's just more pollen for the bees to do the pollinating. And then on apples and pears and some of the cherries that need a second pollinator, if you have an alternate, you tend to have even more of a fruit production when you have situations like that. So for apple, for instance, we have a little chart here that tells you when the flowering is. So a Cortland and a Jonathan you could plant together and you could get the flowers flowering at the same time. And you get more fruit from the two of them. If you planted two Cortlands, you certainly would get a lot of fruit from them, but it might make sense to have two different ones. If you planted a Cortland and a Fuji, they probably won't flower at the same time, and at that point, you're not going to get any fruit or limited fruit. That doesn't mean that somebody in your yard or in your neighborhood, I should say, has an apple and it may pollinate from that, okay? So you got your apple. Then you've got, right here, we've got peaches. So one thing that I wanted to mention about peaches is, peaches are a plant that you really want to cut hard. You can see right here where we've cut it here, and it's created a little shoot of growth below that, and that's where the peaches are going to cling to. So next year, if I cut this here and I cut this here, I'm going to have this type of a thing right here, and that's going to have more fruit. So with peaches, they really do want to be cut hard. You can see here, here, here. Cherries as well, nectarines as well, plums as well. All of those stone fruits love to have a hard pruning. Apples, you got to make sure that you have, and pears, the branching structure set up so that it will take the weight. You don't want to have a branch that's growing vertical and have that weight of the fruit in the fall go like this and snap it right here. So you really want to make sure that you're pruning your fruit trees in the late winter, early spring, so they can support the fruit. So we have these garden guidelines on our website at Weston Nurseries that are available so that you can get the education and the information you need. So like this one's about fruit trees. This one's about blueberries, and this one here is all about apples, and it has that list that I just showed you of the pollinators. So use our website for information so that you know exactly what things to plant where and how they pollinate and care for each other. Some basic products that we sell that help succeed with the fruit production is the Bonide Orchard Spray that's available at Western Nurseries, and that's an organic, natural product. And then from Espoma, we have the tones. The berry tone is good for your small fruits. You could use this for your fruit trees as well. And then the tree tone is good for your trees as well. So with fertilizing, I recommend 3 times a year: early spring, late spring, and then in the fall. And that will help ensure that the nutrients are there for the tree to produce the fruit you want. Again, thanks for watching this video. If you have other questions, you can contact any one of our horticultural experts at Western Nurseries.